So because of the situation that's been going on with Session 6 of the Lost Mine of Phandelver, we're still trying to sort of figure out what's going on with our DMs and what we're going to do about a 5th player if we do bring one. And so right now we're kind of just trying to go sort of cruise along nice and smoothly. And what we're going to do is we're going to play the Sword of the Ember Knight, and the person who plays Emil is DMing this because they've had a little bit of experience with DMing, and I have to say they're doing a really good job. I don't know if it's a role they want to take on permanently with our group, but at the very least we know that they have the capability to run a fantastic adventure. So this was originally supposed to be a one-shot, but because of how things went, as you'll soon realise, we unfortunately weren't able to get it wrapped up in a single session, but it has given us more time to sort of plan what we're going to do with the Lost Mine of Phandelver, sort of sort out a 5th player for our group, and as well maybe find a more permanent DM. So it basically gives all parties involved more time. So our DM here wants to work on their own campaign, so they get lots more notes to write up. I think it's going to be entirely homebrewed, so that'll be good for them. Other players get to work on characters that they want to sort of write up if they for that campaign or others. It gives other potential DMs and other players that may want to join the group time to acclimatise to our group, and yeah, I get to spend more time on D&D Beyond making characters. I'm so far at 45, but hey, that's what the Master Subscription's for, isn't it? So yes, so the Sword of the Ember Knight takes place in an alternate timeline, because we have brought level 3 characters to this, as the adventure recommends. So it actually begins in the Trezendar Manor from Session 6 of the Lost Mine of Phandelver, where we've just beaten the Bugbears, but the Red Browns were quite a bit of a tough bunch. And we've had to sort of retreat from that fight and enter the room where the Bugbears were, where we rested up. So, as we're in this room, we're starting to get a bit more drowsy. Our eyes are growing heavier and our consciousness is slipping away. And a voice whispers in this quite nicely lit room, a wrong person in the right place can make all the difference. I should have done that in my general gloom voice, really. The wrong person in the right place can make all the difference. But still, never. Well, I even messed it up there, so that's not particularly good. So, as we're sort of resting in this room now, we wake up as our memories have faded, essentially, or they're very foggy at the very least. The words Redbrand, Glassstaff, Sildar Hallwinter, or Jarno Albrecht, they're kind of just fuzzy. At the forefront of our mind is that we are outside the Honeywell Inn in order to take on a bounty that we've basically been given. We had, as far as our characters can remember, we have just travelled from Phandalin to this place called the Honeywell Inn in the Demir Valley, and it's here where we're here to meet someone called Silas, because they have a legend to tell us, and the possibility of treasure has allured as well. And we've come on horses that we previously didn't own, but as far as our characters are aware, yeah, we own these horses, or at least we rented them, and or possibly stole them. And yeah, we're here to meet Silas. So we enter the inn and we're looking around, and we're seeing that it's got an atmosphere. It's got a nice atmosphere. And we decide that we're going to go in, and we're going to go to this back room. We're going to look around for this back room where Silas may be. So Silas beckons us over and tells us, yes, this way, and we go into the room, and yeah, so we're gonna just have a chat with this Silas chap. We're told that he put the notice in Phandalin, and just to remind us in case there was any doubt in our minds why we were here. He put the notice in Phandalin, and that there is a great evil, and he doesn't quite know who to turn to. You see, Silas is an old, frail, and desperate-seeming man. There is no one else that he can turn to. He has tried to call for anyone to help him, and very few, if any, have actually taken any serious notice of him. You know, he looks like the average doomsayer in the average town. So he's had to come to Phandalin to put this notice up, and just in the hopes that we might meet him here. So it was very fortunate that we came along. So we are now told the story of this great evil. The story goes that once upon a time in the Demir Valley, there was a great and evil king who had minions that caused famine and plague and strife. Everywhere he went, and the longer he remained, there was this dark aura that spread and basically took life and prosperity from this place. It wasn't until a knight had approached the king, and as he drew the sword and thrust it towards the king, it erupted in flame and skewered the man, basically turning him into a shish kebab. Because of this great deed that was done, the evil was banished, and the knight was given a hero's burial, along with his then flaming sword. The legend then became myth, the myth then became completely apocryphal, and the myth also then became forgotten. Very few people, if any, remember it besides this old chap by the name of Silas. However, there have been a few others who are taking notice. Especially now, there are reports and rumours of this darkness spreading once again. As Silas is telling us this, we're interrupted by the slamming of the front doors, which is not particularly far away. I think it's about 30 feet away from us. And the doors of the tavern burst open, and these four unsightly, rough gentlemen walk in, and they demand that the barkeep tell them where this old man is, whoever he may be, obviously Silas. And the barkeep turns them away quite humorously, which I can't say because I do like to try and keep these videos with as minimal bad language as possible. But it was very funny, and of course Sam's voice really helped with it. They want Silas, and they're starting to now bother the patrons. Upon hearing this, Silas is now getting worried, and he needs to get out. He has no spellcasting ability or fighting ability that we know of. So now we need an idea as to how to get him out. While this is going on, Eliza's checking the door of this back room to see what she can see, and she's seen 4 of these people. Later, only 3, as one of them disappears from sight. She can also see their cones of vision as well, which our DM was very generous to provide. I like that idea that we have their sort of cone of vision and their peripheral vision and things like that, where they're focused, where they are, and he was sort of moving the characters around as we were talking about this. So while this is going on as well, yes, Eliza also checks Silas via insight. She rolls 13, and we can tell that he's honest and desperate, and that as well that his tale has been ignored before. He's often been dismissed for such a strange apocryphal tale. So we're given a bit more information. He knows where the king and the sword are, and as the thugs walk in, Shoria asks, "Do you owe them money?" And yeah, that wasn't exactly what they're here for as such, as we find out very soon. Eliza can also tell that the bandits are seemingly human. Not that it really matters, I'll tell you that right now, but it was just an extra note to provide. As Eliza retells the count to us, Shoria then says, "I'm sure we've dealt worse than those scroat bags." So much for keeping the language on the down low, as they say. Yes, so apparently it was not a good idea to fight because the town guard does not appreciate kerfuffles. They're not that far. So if we were going to do this, we were going to have to do it quick. The thing is that 2 of us were in heavy armour. There was no way we were really going to sneak. So yes, at this point as well, the DM says that John is eating, which strangely adds to the ambience. I was having a nice sweet and sour chicken and basmati rice. Very nice. Sadly without the Chianti and the however it goes. So that was the worst impression. That's better. Slightly. Yes, so anyway, Silas... oh yes, right, so we've got a plan now. So we're thinking that Silas is going to have to be rendered invisible. And that Shoria will be able to cast that spell on him. However, that's going to use one of her valuable spell slots. But he says that if he's turned invisible, he'll go home and we can meet him there if we manage to sneak out. So at least that's one person that's hidden away. Yes, we're then told that the bandits are keeping a move. Sort of moving around now. They're getting agitated. They're having to talk to more NPCs. Silas provides us with a very hastily scrawled map as to where his house is, and Eliza memorizes it because of her background. I think it's the Outlander with the Wanderer feature, which comes in handy very, very soon. Or rather, not very, very soon, but about halfway through this adventure, session. And now we've heard one of the bandits saying that they're going to check on the back room. So now we need to move. The invisibility requires concentration, which was apparently interesting to RDM. We can use Fey Presence if things go particularly sour. And we're deciding that we're going to exit with stealth. However, Silas bumps into us as we go. Our rolls for stealth are as follows. Shoria gets a 16. Eliza gets a 15. I get 12. I had 13 with disadvantage, but it's 12. And Emil, he rolled a 1. 2 with disadvantage. So it's the usual marching order of Eliza going first, Emil going second, Shoria going third, and me covering the rear. So Emil is just about to fall over as he's sneaking out, not having left the back room for that long. I think about 10-15 feet, and he slips, but Eliza manages to catch him, and there's just this very faint jingle of chainmail armor, and she's very grateful. So he's very grateful for catching him then. Although it does say here in my notes, because a benevolent god has gone by averages. Very good. So we now creep into the door, and as we make it to the front door, we realise there's a bandit outside. And we now need to provide a distraction. So we're thinking we could try and sneak past him and get into the bushes, but things aren't going to go too well if we just try and sneak, so we need to provide a distraction. I say we. Shoria once again comes out with a magic and decides that she's going to use a mage hand to distract the bandit outdoors. So she's going to use mage hand to take her hand around the corner and knock on the wall around the corner for the bandit to investigate. We're now trying to sneak out again. We have to do another stealth check to see if we can get out once this is going on. Meanwhile, Sharia rolls 21 on deception, so 16 plus 5, versus his perception. Again, some of the best rolls are coming from Sharia. And the hand knocks on the wood as he moves to the corner. Now, Emil, trying to sneak out, nearly drops his hammer. Oh dear. And we have to, once again, stealth. So Shoria gets 17, so she's getting towards the bushes, about 15 feet away from the door. Eliza rolls a 1, Emil rolls a 3, and I roll a 7. And basically the three of us who got, single-digit stealth rolls, we basically fall prone. And this causes a lot of noise that the outdoor bandit notices. He turns around. He's quite shocked to see Shoria in the woods. Not in the woods, sorry, in like just sort of like coming out of a bush, seemingly, because he didn't know that she'd come from the inn. And he's kind of wondering what's going on. And so we have to roll initiative because we've made such a kerfuffle. Also, as well, yeah, we're all prone, so that's good. So initiative. Roll, I shall tell you now. Initiative goes as follows. Shoria rolls... Oh, no, sorry. Emil rolls 18. 19 minus 1. Shoria rolls 14. Eliza rolls 9. And I roll 4. Now, the bandits, however, the captain rolls a 16. So he goes second. The bandits then roll 3, 2, and 2. So... not particularly impressive rolls, but nonetheless, combat goes on. And my combat notes are a lot better because I've numbered the turn orders. See, look at that, aren't I? See, oh, hang on. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. It's even better on that because it's actually in the proper order this time as well. Look at that. Yeah, and you're going to see how I'm going to mess it all up anyway, so this should be fun. So on the first round, Emil uses his movement to rise up, having been knocked prone before from his own incompetence. Mind you, I say that, his own incompetence, we were all incompetent except Shoria at that moment. So, and he's also going to use his action as well to get Eliza up as well, which I thought was rather good of him. And I don't think he uses... Oh yes, and he uses then the remainder of his movement to cover Shoria. In the second thing to happen is that the captain in the window, he's now looking outside and he's going to dash to the window, seeing just what the hell's going on, having heard all this kerfuffle going on. Shoria then moves to see a bit more of the outdoors in the dark, and so she's moving towards the sort of farther end. She is moving to the east of the map to sort of see if she can reveal any more of the map because it's all blacked out. Fog of War, and she's going to use an Eldritch Blast and to roll 12, and I think she hits, doing 9 damage on the outdoor bandit. He's in pretty bad nick already. So Eliza is then going to run up to the guy and try to stab him, but unfortunately she rolls a nat 1 with a rapier, and she tries to swing it thinking it's a longsword and not a sort of stabbing instrument, and she hits Emil for 5 hit points, and it's rather unfortunate, really, because he's sobbing, just like, I'm sorry, I know that this stealth failed before, but I'm sorry about my chainmail. You know, and things like this happen a lot as well. He's quite apologetic and miserable, really, and I can't blame him after taking 5 HP, because he seems to take the most damage. So, Bandito number 2 rushes in from the pub into the front door, and he's now behind me. So I'm gonna get up, and because because the bandit behind me has dashed, he can't actually attack me because he's used his action. So I'm gonna get up. I'm going to peek through the window just to see what this guy can see, and I can see him clearly, and he can see me clearly as well. So it's not like the front door is blocking his vision, the tree and the leaves aren't blocking his vision. No, he can see everything that's going on. This isn't good at all. So I think then what I do is I either stand there. Yes, I think I stand there. And I'm going to take out my bell that I supposedly have. I mean, the DM's doing a lot of the descriptions, and to be fairness, this is something that I really need to learn from as well. I need to absolutely do a much better job of describing my actions. I take out a sacred bell that I supposedly have in my pack, and I channel the energy of Kellenvor through it, and it just goes ding, doing 1 damage. Because this guy rolled, the bandit in front of me rolled a 1. So he rolled a wisdom saving throw of 8, but I only did 1 damage. Oh dear. So he then calls for help. We're then looking at the second round of combat as well as the other band. Oh yeah. The other bandits move. One moves near the fireplace within the inn, and one comes up to the front door, but he can't get past his friend who's dashed towards me. The DM's partner says hello to us all. Hello. Emil then blesses us all, so we all get 1d4 on our saving throws and attack rolls. The bandit captain wants to leap through the window, and just as he's crashing through, he catches his foot on the windowsill and he just falls through and lands prone, which is rather amusing. I think that's kind of the break we needed, to be honest. So Shoria then rolls 13 attack on her Eldritch Blast and does 7 force damage, and then runs further east to try and get away. Eliza attacks the captain. She gets a 19 on attack and thrusts her rapier into him to do 6 damage. I then use Sacred Flame on the, I think it's the guy behind me or in front of me. He takes 4 damage, and I move back as well, I think, to prevent that guy from getting... No, I don't think I do. I think he moves forward and... Yes, he moves forward, so he's now out of the pub. And I wanted to try and do something, but it wasn't going to be my turn for a while yet, where I could sort of push him back in, and like sort of shove him back in and block the doorway, so he's trapped there. So... Anyway, yeah, so this... So I then do Sacred Flame damage. He fails his dexterity saving throw, he takes 4 damage. He's stricken by the flame that is produced from my Warhammer, and which I quite like the flavour of, to be honest. And yeah, he tries to swing with his scimitar, but he misses. It's just scraping down the scale mail, I think it's what I'm wearing. It scales on my armour, and basically he misses. And I think he was trying to... I think he made some sort of mocking remark as well, and he sort of backfired really when he couldn't hit me, but still not mad. The bandit behind his friend can't really do much because he can't... He's basically, this door is like 5 feet wide, so, and this other guy's standing in front of it, so he can't get through and he can't really do anything. So, it's at this point, I guess, the outdoor bandit, because the DM wasn't really not paying attention, that makes it sound awful, but because the DM had sort of miscalculated, that was it, the term I've got here, because the DM had miscalculated the HP, this bandit, just as it's on his turn, he sort of falls down, choking with blood, because he's basically dead at this point. So it wasn't supposed to be his turn. So it's round 3 already. Emil goes for All Faithful on the captain, the bandit captain. He rolls 16 and 19 on advantage, so the 19 hits, and he says, "You scum are all the same." The hammer glows, and he brings it down to deal 4 damage, plus Divine Smite 2d8. He does 8 damage, which is quite nice, and he does 12 damage total. We hear some bones of the bandit captain crack. The bandit captain rises and bellows, "Tell us where the sword is!" He uses his sword on Emil. He misses. And the sword bounces off his shield as Emil expertly parries it. However, his multi-attack, his second attack, hits, and he gets a natural 20, and he does 10 damage to Emil. So the DM's not being terribly nice to his own character, which is a trait I rather like. I don't think I could be that... I don't think I could be that cruel to my own characters if I were running the game, but still. He looks to Shoria, who's now sort of retreating, and says, "Come back here, you so-and-so," that I can't say, because I'm trying to keep, the language down. I mean, it's not like my party members are at mine or anything, it's just in case YouTube has a hissy fit, so... we get attacks of opportunity on the bandit captain as he dashes. I think all 3 of us do. I think I'm the only one who hits, because I get 15 plus 1 from my bless, which is 16. I hit, and I just do 2 damage. I barely hit. Shoria then sees the captain barreling towards her and uses a vicious mockery. He fails his wisdom saving throw of 13, and she's asked how to give her vicious mockery, and says, "You horrible little windbag, don't talk to me like that." And he also takes 1 damage and disadvantage on his next attack. Just rather good. I'm just thinking which page that's pitched it right. I'm sorry, I'm just making sure I know which way I'm putting these pages. So, Shoria uses her Echo. Oh yes, that's right. Shoria has decided that she's going to become an Echo Knight person. And they really like the sound of it. They weren't going to be able to use that because our previous DM Drax had thought that the Echo was too powerful, but it looks as though she may be able to use it, and she's really been enjoying it as well. So I'm really glad for Eliza, that because I'm not a big fan of fighters, and I was kind of worried that I think I had actually recommended Champion for like a new player, but Champions don't really sort of show the best that D&D has to offer. I think it gives too little credit to her and to fighter players and new players in general. But yes, like I think Eliza's got a good understanding of a class, well, easily enough to play Echo Knight brilliantly. So she uses her Echo, and she smiles, cackles, and summons the shadow that looks identical to her, except for the fact that it's now like this sort of billowing smoke form. She uses a trip attack with superior die. The DC is 13. And just as one of these bandits, I think it was the bandit captain, who's about to call her a stupid little elf girl, he goes... And the Echo basically just like pulls the rapier out from behind. This bandit captain's trying to reach for the blade to stop the bleeding in his neck, but he can't get any purchase because it's all shadow and mist and smoke, and it pulls back and he just falls to the ground. So that was rather good. And now the shadow is just sort of standing there dutifully, as if a statue waiting for command. Now the combat is almost coming to an end. There's one final person. There's 2 final people left. I'm going to use a shove action to try and keep this guy down on the floor, just to make sure that he doesn't escape, so we can interrogate him. So the one who was previously behind me, he's now running away, but this other one's trying to come to attack me. And I roll an 18 to knock him prone. The other runs away because he's not paid enough. I'm not paid enough for this. And he dashes away, and the combat ends. So now we're trying to find out what's going on with this. Like, why... so Shoria asks about the sword, and he doesn't really know about it. He's only here for the money. That's why him and his boss and the rest of the gang are here. They're not here for this legendary sword. They're not here to take out this Dark King. They're here simply to get some treasure that the old man had rumoured them to have. Shoria intimidates the guy with a roll of 24. Being a warlock, she will of course have very high charisma scores. And for info, and he's definitely not divine. Any sort of vim and vigour that he had is no longer gone. It's now sort of run through a wet patch in his trousers. They're looking for a tomb that is apparently filled with treasure, and they are clearly money motivated. And they're only after the money. There's no other reasons. Shoria rolls insight with advantage, so she rolls 20 and 23, because of course she does. And as far as we can tell, he's telling the truth. And he's not going to try and do anything, not with the Echo there. And the Echo of Eliza is still standing there. And they seem to be more scared of that than of the party. So we now know that. So we loot the bodies, and for expedience' sake, we find 50 gold pieces and a potion of lesser healing. So that's not terribly bad. We go on our horses, which are bears, because the adventure of the DM didn't have horse icons, only bears. So we got on our horse bears. And and Eliza's looking around just to see if anyone's following us, any taggers along, any stragglers that may be trying to regroup. And the answer is no. There's no one watching us that we know of, and we can go safely to Silas' house. So it's only like a nice little cottage, really. And as we arrive, we're given some aid in the form of 3 greater healing potions. So everyone but me gets one, because I'm already at quite good health, and I do all right. I may need one of those potions later on, though, because towards the end of this you'll find out the dramatic climax to this first session. So everyone gets a potion but me. We're told now by Silas that we need to get the Sword of the Ember Knight in order to slay the king, or at least it will be incredibly useful in slaying the king. We have been given a map which Eliza will remember, so that can be burned shortly after. And we can travel by horseback or bareback. And for some reason it says something here. Best part. I don't know. I wrote something down there that I can't read. Best part of something. I don't know. Valor. Eliza suggests that we sleep, so we do. We're able to stay in Silas' cottage. It allows us to do that. And we're allowed to get back max HP because of our DM. So thank you ever so much. Shame I don't really need that right now. We come downstairs the following morning, and it's Eliza who's up first, but not before Silas. He's up and he's got some porridge ready. He asks the DM asks Shoria to make a Constitution check, but then goes back on it saying I'm only joking. So that's rather amusing. Glad to know he's keeping us on our toes. Shortly after, the rest of the party comes down, and we are asking about a reward for this, and that while the idea of being called heroes is very nice, we wouldn't mind some extra money as well and things like that, maybe some items. But really, he can't give us anything more. The tomb has wealth. Shori asks if I mind the tomb being raided, and I just say, look, they don't need them where they're going. So that's my way of getting out of causing any drama in the party in regards to looting bodies and things like that. So, as long as the bodies are buried, that's what matters to me. So we're told, however, that this sword is going to be necessary to fight this king because we believe that he is the Lich King. No king rules forever, my son. He's the Lich. He's supposedly a Lich, and I, of course, have to ask what a Lich is. I roll a religion check of 8, and I don't know this particular Lich, and I don't really know all that much about Liches. I know that they are powerful and dead, especially when it comes to metagaming as well. I love to do my reading on not the monster manual as such, but I like to look on like the Forgotten Realms wiki and things like that, and look into undead and what I know about them, so that I can make it maybe make it easier on the DM, because it's a lot of work that they would have to do for my one character, because I'm the only one who's really going to be interested in this particular monster. So Shori asks if I even know anything about baby liches, and no, contrary to popular belief, not even a demi-lich is a baby lich, rather the opposite, but yes. So we know that the tomb has defences to protect those within, but some of these may be apocryphal and storied. I'm sorry, I do love that word, apocryphal, I really do. At this point, Shoria is singing the Indiana Jones theme, which was rather funny. And we sort of ask Silas now how he knows all of this information. How good is this information? And he sees visions and portents. He has a sort of innate ability to understand these things. And he's been that way all his life, from what I understand. So I'm getting the idea that he's a sorcerer, but that's made me rather suspicious. I'm also thinking about this as well from, like, can we even trust that? Eliza rolls 10 on insight, and he seems sure of what he says. Shoria also rolls 7 persuasion, and he can't provide any further help than he has. I'm using Eyes of the Grave as my sort of morning ritual, just to see if there's any undead nearby. But I'm also kind of wondering, like, is this guy the Lich King? And he's not just sort of hiding it. Because what benefit would Silas have of this? But he doesn't seem to be at all... he doesn't seem to be a lich or any sort of form of undead. At least not one that's protected by any divination. That isn't protected by divination magic. So, at this point we take a break, so it's about 2 minutes to 8, and we come back at about 11 minutes past 8. And we're going to have a nice whittle break and have a nice cup of tea and just talk about how we're going to proceed with this. Our DM is pretty confident that this is going to run over into a 2-shot. For some reason, I don't know why, but I really don't like that term, 2-shot and 3-shot. I just call it an adventure at that point. It's either a 1-shot, an adventure, or a campaign. So, anyway, so we have our break, and then we're going to continue on. So after early dawn, I've just realised I missed a complete page of notes there. So it's early, so we're sort of leaving now after early dawn. We've had our breakfast. We're leaving on a full stomach, and we're now going to go to this the first location, the Tomb of the Ember Knight. The forests are quiet. The forests are quite quiet. Our travels are nice and slow. It takes about a better part of a day to get there, and there's very little wildlife, but the wildlife is getting quieter and quieter. In the cliff face that we finally come across, we find an entrance. Shoria calls it the Cavern of the Swordman, which I think is a better name for this adventure. So we park up our bears, and we allow them to, I guess, graze on the rabbit grass. I don't know. I don't know what bears eat, but anyway, so they're presumably grazing on some fish and berries. And we are going to look around. Shoria casts guidance on Eliza in order to perform a survival check of 21, and she also gets a 1 from her guidance. So, yeah. So there's no tracks here, at least none that are recent, from next to ancient, really. However, there are signs of scuff marks, metallic ones at that, on the entrance. And I had to take a lot of prompting in this adventure because I was completely clueless as to what to do. It's like I felt really out of my element here. I think I would be better in campaigns because I appreciate the good that a one-shot can do. I can appreciate the shorter adventures, but I think it takes me a few sessions to really get into my element, which is, I don't know, cack. That's my element. I don't know what that is on the elemental table. I'm still working with alchemical. Anyway. So Shoria says, you're a dwarf, you know about stone cunning. Is there anything you can tell us? And indeed, I roll a 22 plus 2 on stone cunning to investigate the scuff. And because of my eye for details as a dwarf, I have I can recognise that it was a blade that was dragged along the stone in this cavernous entrance. And it was through carelessness. It wasn't really sort of like dragged along purposefully, like someone had made a point of sort of sticking a sword in and dragging it along like that, or trying to carve something into it. It's more like it was sort of like clanging against it, or patting it, or bashing it. But there's not really any residue that we can find that would indicate what kind of blade this is. Like if it's steel, iron, silver, anything like that. So we enter the cave again, usual marching order. Nothing exciting happens for a while. Eliza's checking for traps as there's a fork in the road. With an 11 perception, there's no tripwires, there's no blow darts, no pressure plates or anything like that, so much for the traps, but this isn't really a manufactured place as such. So we go further into the cave, and we're seeing a lot of cobwebs now. Now, they're not webs as in like the magic spell web where you have to roll DCs. So you have to roll dice to get out of it. Speaking of which, a little bit of a tangent here. I probably will do a separate video on this, but video games, can you please stop with the web spells out of combat? I can't stand in Pathfinder or in Baldur's Gate or in any other such a game where I have to constantly roll perception and not perception, have to roll athletics, have to roll dexterity to get out of it. Can't I just burn the webs and just move through it? I don't care about taking the damage. I just don't want to be sat there for 3 minutes and being told you cannot venture forth until you gather your party. Anyway, so for some reason, oh yeah, sorry, yes, all over the place with my notes. So now we're as we're going along, we're thinking stealth all loud, and we're going to try and sneak until we're caught. We're not really rolling any dice or anything. We all have dark vision, and we're looking at Emil and I are looking at the stonework in this 15-foot high ceilings. We can guess the stonework is limestone. It is there's a lot of rubble, some light rubble near the entrance, but it doesn't appear to be that of any sort of civilization that we can recognise. It just seems to be like stone that has fallen away with time and weather. Oh yeah, sorry, we do stealth. The scuff is continuing along the walls, but again doesn't reveal anything else that it might be intended, or again recent. Again, thanks to Eliza prompting us once more, I was just completely zoned out for this. I really just wanted to sit and watch and wait until I was in the combat. But yeah, when rolling stealth, Emil rolls a nat 20, 7 on disadvantage though. I roll an 18, 17 on disadvantage, not bad. Eliza rolls 12 and Shoria rolls 11. So Emil falls over upon hitting his head, and I try to help him up. Armor jingling. Shoria shakes her head, and Eliza continues as we're marching along into the entrance of the cave. Eliza asks if the webbing is decoration, and it is. It's on the ceiling mostly, some on the floor. And yeah, we carry on moving. Shoria uses her investigation with advantage from my help. The dark vision helps as well. She rolls 12 and 15, so with advantage it's 15 that she gets. And there's some disturbance of the rock formations in the distance. We're now going to go right, and we find along this sort of narrow path a corpse that is is encased in webbing. It's being cocooned essentially. And Eliza and I check the corpse. I roll an 18 medicine check, and the DM proceeds to go on and say, yep, he is dead. If he could be any more dead, it wouldn't even be possible that he could be more dead. If you open a dictionary and you saw the word dead, there'd be a picture of this dead guy being dead. However, I did want to check why he had died. Like, was it the asphyxiation from the webbing? Was it puncture marks in his neck that had revealed he'd been bitten or poisoned, anything like that? And it turned out that there were puncture wounds on his neck, and it did appear as though he may have been poisoned, but we couldn't get any more information with that roll. However, we do find out this person. Again, the DM handing us some magic items, which they said they might do. They had given us 2 vials of antivenom, which I had given to Eliza and Shoria, because Emil and I, being dwarves, we had advantage on poison saving throws and resistance to poison. We also find a herbalist kit, which I take because I don't have proficiency in it, but I may be able to use it with a medicine check or something like that, or just to help recognise poison and things like that. It may even help me with my sort of medical skills somewhat, like expanding my surgery kit, so to speak. We also find a silvered dagger, I think, which eventually became silver dagger, because I don't think it was like an iron dagger that was encased in silver so much as it was like it was actually a dagger made of silver. And Shortiga takes the 50 gold pieces that we find on the body as well. An investigation check as well reveals that the dagger that we found was not the one that was found scraping along the walls. We exit that room we exit that part of the cave, and we are now going to go towards the westernmost side, and it is revealed, unfortunately, that through the chittering and the sort of movement of these bones that we're seeing in and beneath the webs, there are 3 gigantic spiders that come out and attack us. So we roll initiative. So, it's almost like in a triangle formation that these spiders have appeared, really, and unfortunately Eliza's caught in the middle of some of them, but we are fortunate enough to have a pretty good plan. I think we've really sort of hit our stride when it comes to combat. We know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we know the tactics we're going to be using, so I'm hoping that this will carry over to the next game. Sorry, I don't know why my eyes are watering again. Probably too much time in front of the screen. So, we roll initiative. So, the spiders roll 18. Now all the spiders are being rolled for at once, which I think works better for things like this. I think it depends really on how many units you have and how long the combat you think is going to go on for. So the spiders roll 18, Emil rolls 17, Shoria rolls 13, I roll 12 as Garfeld, and Eliza rolls 9. So the first spider towards the bottom, towards the south, bites me for 22. He does a natural 20 plus 2. He also does 1d8 piercing damage, which was 5 damage. Originally, for some reason, I was saying it was bludgeoning damage as well. It wasn't until Eliza brought it up that it said, hang on, shouldn't that be piercing damage? Anyway, this creature bites my arm. However, I roll a 22 on my saving throw with advantage against. No, I don't think I actually rolled the advantage because I got a 22 on the first one. I thought, do I even need to bother? So it does 0 poison damage. So then another spider bites Emil. I think this is the one towards the northeast. Runs over to bite Emil and again gets a nat 20 and does 11 damage to him. Bites him on the calf just before he can raise his shield. He rolls a Constitution saving throw of 16 and again takes 0 poison damage. And then finally the northwesternmost spider it tries to shoot a globular web at her. However, he rolls a 15 and misses, and she just dives out of the way towards the right and splatters the web on the floor. So Emil with his Warhammer rolls a 9 and misses the spider that attacked him. Shoria uses her Eldritch Blast and gets a 15 hit and does 9 damage. And I think she then retreats behind me to try and see if the spider can get to her. To see if the spider can't get to her, rather. And Eliza summons her shadow, and I think this is going to be the meme of the evening. I thought it was going to be bears with coconuts. But no, it's that Eliza summons her shadow from the depths of the cave, and the shadows swarm and swirl and form Eliza's shadow, and basically appear right in front of the northwesternmost spider. And it attacks with its rapier and rolls 12 and unfortunately misses this spider. So now the spider that's nearest to the echo, the northwestern one most, attacks and rolls a 12 with its bite and misses. It just can't get any purchase on the echo's form whatsoever. The other spood, as I've put here, the other spider... the one that attacked Emil is now turning to Eliza, and it hits her with a bite attack of 18, and it does 10 piercing damage. But she saves against a poison, rolling 17, and she's successful on that. So my spider, or rather the spider that was attacking me, rolls for 18 and it hits with a bite again once more and does 5 piercing damage. I think again it bites me on the arm just before on the neck, just before I can get the shield up. And it also, but I also roll a nat 20 plus 2 on the success on save, so again no damage taken there. And I've taken quite the beating now. I think I'm at like 14 hit points or something like that. Just before my action ends as well, I'm checking on Emil just to see how he's doing, and he's had, quote, a tough paper round, which I quite like as a euphemism. Shorty disengages because the spider's now within the range of her as well, and she runs down the cavern to try and get behind me, and still uses me as like a sort of like this doesn't come up yet, but she basically sort of like leans on my shoulder and launches an Eldritch Blast. I then move backwards, not disengaging because I want to be able to hit this creature. I allow the spider to take an attack of opportunity so I can move back and cover Shoria, and I use Toll the Dead. Unfortunately, this creature succeeds on its wisdom saving throw. It is apparently quite a wise creature, this spider. And despite the DC being 12, it is completely unaffected by my Toll the Dead. It seems to be, in fact, attracted by the noise. So it's going to approach me later on, but we don't get around to that yet. So Eliza uses a rapier to attack and misses the spider. It's just simply too quick for her stabbing motion, and she can't quite skewer this thing in front of her, I'm afraid. So the spider on the echo, it bites, it does 16, it rolls 16, it does 1 damage and kills the echo because they have a high AC but they have low health. And as it sort of bites, it sort of launches in, it bites at the shadow, but it disappears, it just poofs into thin air, and it bonks its head on the wall, bounces back and lands on its back. It's wriggling around, it's prone, and it can't get up. So until the next round it's going to be prone. So the spider that attacked Eliza and Emil previously is going to attack Emil again, but he bashes it aside with his shield. And now the one that's attacked me is approaching me, and attracted by the sound of the bell from Toll the Dead, it launches a globule of webs, but it only managed to roll 10 versus my AC of 18, and so again it harmlessly splatters on the wall. Now Emil is now going to roll with All Faithful, and he misses once more, unsurprisingly. Shoria uses an Eldritch Blast with an attack of 16 and does 10 damage to this spider, and so I think that's about 19 in damage it's taken so far. So these things take quite the beating. So she blasts it in its sternum, prone, and launching it on its back violently, which I thought was rather cool. I use Sacred Flame on the prone spider, and I do 1 damage. I hold my shield forward, and despite the cavern just being almost pitch black, the light of Kellenvor still shines through and just strikes the spider on its belly while it's belly up. So once more, Eliza summons another shadow to fight, and goes for the northern west spider that was still on its back after hitting the wall. Eliza, yes. This spider gets up, uses half its movement to get up, and attacks this echo. Rolls a 19 to attack and bites it once more, doing 1 damage to the shadow and kills it. And the other one, I think, then turns to Eliza, and it misses, rolling 12, and she yells, "Bad spider!" and it seems to be chastised in Elvish. The spider that was attacking me bites with, but it misses with an attack. I can't remember, I've scribbled out the number. I think I was meant to correct it, but I didn't. So it misses, and once again it just sort of bites into my shield and just fails to do anything. Emil attacks the spider nearest to him with a Warhammer, 13 attack and bless as well, so he does 1d4 damage, so 17 to hit, and he does 8 damage to the spider nearest him. Shoria, let me just have a look now, because I don't want to miss this, but I don't think it's here yet. Oh no, it's not here yet, sorry. Okay, so Shoria, yeah, she rolls a 22 with her Eldritch Blast, does 9 damage, and I form a hoplite defense in front of her. I'm not overly familiar with the hoplites, but I like that idea very much. I think that was a word that was used twice, so I'm going to look that up. That's going to be my new special interest, I think. Greek warfare and strategy, I think. Yeah, so I toll the dead on this spider that tried to attack me, and I finally hit. It suffers a wisdom fail, and I do 7 damage, and the spider is now shrieking, its life force turning against it, and it's barely able to limp at this point. If it manages to bite again, it would be probably Kellenvor taking some sort of mercy more than anything. Eliza summons yet another echo, a nat 20 to hit. 8 plus 4 plus 3 from I think like bless as well and other such things, and she does 15 damage. She makes a kebab with a spider on her with a rapier, and it's still alive, but one of its eyes has been plucked out, and so that's quite good. Now it's the spider's turn once again. The shadow spider, I call it such because it's stuck in the shadow. It bites, does 23, and it kills the shadow, but it's getting really, really ticked off. Like you can sort of hear it shrieking something along the lines of "For heaven's sakes!" And that's its turn essentially. And then I think it's the other spider now. The one that's attacking me, it rolls a 9 to hit, but it's missed because it's still visibly shaken from the pain it's gone through with tolling the dead. And Emil uses his Warhammer to roll a 20, 16 plus 4, and he does 4 damage, and he hears this sickening wet crunch, killing killing the spider in front of him. So there's 2 left. And he hears a sickening wet crunch just before he calls for Eliza for ideas on what to do. So they decide to take the north and take out the spider that's been killing the shadow. So Shoria rolls 11 on her Eldritch Blast and misses. She leans over my shoulder, slips, and she hits the wall just behind the spider that she was aiming for. I use my Warhammer, I miss, and my bless wouldn't have helped. I think I rolled something like a 3, and if I were to get a 7, it would have been a waste of that ability, really. So, Eliza summons a shadow once again. Oh yeah, this is where the spider hisses, for goodness sakes. Rolls, hits, 11 damage. Not bad. I think my voice there sort of adequately reflected the tone of this session at this point. Like, we were really just getting ready to get off at this stage. Almost done now, almost done. So the spider trying to attack Eliza now. Rolls a 19, he hits, and he does 7 piercing damage, but a constitution save is a 21 in total, because it's 13 plus 3, plus her 4 from the bless, and I think that's 16. I almost missed the calculator here, because I think it says 13 plus 3 plus 4. 16 plus... No, it's 21. Well, it says 21, but I mean, it was 21, but I've done the math wrong here, because I must be missing a digit here. Because, yeah, I think it was like 14 plus 3 or 13 plus 4 plus 4. 21. So anyway, Eliza gets a con save, so she doesn't take any poison damage. Now, the spider attacks me and does 24, rolls 24 to hit. 7 damage, and I take 0 poison damage from a 21 constitution saving throw. At this point, I've got about 7 hit points left. I'm really not looking good. Emil rolls a 12 and does 3 damage with his Warhammer, I believe. But it doesn't kill the spider that's harassing Eliza. Shoria now rolls a 21 on her Eldritch Blast. I think we're going to have to look at. I think we're going to have to get a different site for Shoria to roll on, because these rolls are amazing. 9 force damage as well. I think she's been buying things on D&D Beyond to be getting rolls like that. Mind you, I buy a lot of content, I don't get rolls like that, so I think I'll play a Warlock next time. I'm used as a tripod to aim the Eldritch Blast. She's again holding onto my shoulder and sort of puts her arm on the other one and launches it to steady her aim. And she kills the spider. I'm at 7 HP, Eliza's at 12. Oh yes, and the other one had been killed as well, so that's good. So I think Amelia had finished off the other spider. And we're now at the end of combat. I'm at 7 HP, Eliza's at 12. And I think I didn't get Emil's health down, but he's looking pretty bad. So just before we have a short rest at this very moment, I suggest to Eliza that she should use a second wind, because she gets one of those, I think, every short rest. And she gets 7 plus 3 HP, so she gets 10 HP back. On top of her 12... on top of like some of her hit die that she uses as well, I think. I use 1d8 hit die, and I'm now at 13 hit die. I really should have used 2, but it doesn't matter because we've got plenty of health potions, and if we come across a shop... I mean, with all this gold we're getting, we're probably going to come across a shop, surely. Otherwise, what's the point of having all this money? Mind you, then, if you don't have money, it sort of says we're not going to come across a shop, are we? So we shall have to see. Who knows? But I'm definitely going to need to see a healer later on, I think, and I'm willing to pay rather than use a spell slot. So, we're going to continue, but Shoria's player suggests that we have we carry on. Shoria does suggest that we should have maybe like a 10-minute break or 2 5-minute breaks if we're going to play for an extra half an hour. So up until 10:30 in the evening next time. And I agree it's a good idea, because this is the thing. I always want to play further. It's like there have been times where I'm like, I don't really feel like D&D tonight, but I get on and I'm like, I really want to play further. I want to play until like 11 or 12 o'clock. But I can't, because I have real life to attend to. And as well, I have to use text chat, because I don't want to disturb my dad when he goes to bed about 10 o'clock. So, yeah. But in something like this where it's like a dungeon crawl, well, so far it's been mostly a dungeon crawl, it wasn't really supposed to be initially. Like, we were supposed to be like this is supposed to be a one shot, and I think I think we're just halfway through. Anyway, yeah. So, So as much as I want to play, I can't play any further. So we're now at the point where I'm just going through my screenshots. Eliza's Echo is going to lead us through the dungeon. We don't find it. I don't think we find anything of use on the spiders. It's not like we're carrying a coin purse and any, like, I don't know, gauntlets of ogre power or anything like that. So, yeah. So we continue on. Eliza's Echo leads forth, and we're trying to sort of sneak through. We're not really coming across all that much. There's the odd sword mark. Shoria rolls a nat 20 plus 3 on our investigation check. To note that several objects, so not just one sword, but several, have been brushed against this wall again through carelessness. And there is no logic to the marks. This doesn't appear like as if they're sort of sheathed in any sort of standard issue sheaths, and that these are like automatons that are just knocking against the walls. It's very much like someone's maybe just like hitting the walls or dragging it along. But not in any sort of consistent way. It's like anything that we might be able to use to fit any sort of ideas that we might have to figure out why someone might do this are just beyond our ken. So, as we're marching along towards the end of this tunnel, just before we come across a corner, we come across some string across the walls from one end to the other. It's rather worrying as well, because we have Eliza's Echo walking ahead, and the thing is that the Echo isn't really that great a physical force, but it is enough to set off the trap that we've just uncovered. So we're all wincing and getting ready for whatever this is going to be, and the thing is that... Oh, yes, yeah, Eliza rolls stealth. 12 plus 3 equals 15 with the guidance. Oh, no, so that's later. I do apologise, but it's okay. The shadow, this echo, triggers a trap of ball bearings. And when I heard ball bearings, I immediately thought of that first scene in Swordfish. Not a great movie. Halle Berry and John Travolta star in it, and someone else who's famous as well. Yeah, interesting film. And it's like a ball bearing bomb, essentially. And I was thinking, oh god, it's gonna be that. And it's like, no, it's not. It's just a harmless ball bearings. I think like fall from the ceiling. There's some glass shattering, and it was essentially just to make noise, according to Eliza's perception roll, to discover the trap's history. She rolls 12 and she figures out that it's a noise maker trap. The rope, however, seems newish, but it's tatty and split and frayed. It's quite clearly salvaged from somewhere. It's so the trap is new, but the rope is not necessarily. So we continue down this hallway, and that's all the traps we see until we come across a constructed hallway that seems to be it's 15 feet wide, and it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 45, call it 47 feet ahead from where we are. So we can only go like we can only go like one space to the left and one space to the right. And this is kind of worrying on the map, because things like this tend to look like trapped hallways or anything like that. This is going to be a trap, surely. And we're going to have to step on the correct tiles, otherwise we'll have like flame gouting, at us, and we're going to be, hit with poison and all manner of things like gas and God knows what. So we can't really see much ahead, other than a door emblazoned with a flame on the front. Now, upon relaying this information, because Eliza's at the front, she's telling us that it kind of looks like a crypt. I immediately rush past Eliza to try and get to the front and have a look and sort of like admire the beauty of it. I think, oh, this is definitely more like home. And I'm sort of glowing. I'm a bit disappointed that it's not actually a crypt. Oh well, it's still awfully nice all the same. So, and Eliza's like, don't go too far, don't go injured. Garveld rather, because you might get hit with whatever traps are in there. I go, oh, fine, and I go back to behind Shoria. So Eliza checks her traps, and with a perception of 12, she doesn't really see anything. So she is going to go on her own. As well as this, she's also commanded that I don't know if this is. I mean, I imagine that this ruling's fine, because Eliza knows the rules, I think, better than any one of us who played the game, besides for Kayla. And she's commanded her Echo to sort of stand on top of her, not like a piggyback as such, like holding the legs and she's sat on her shoulders. It's like, no, she's actually just stood on her shoulders and just walking. Okay, so anyway, so Eliza is walking with this Echo on her shoulders, and they enter the room, and as they get about 5, 10, 15, 20, 20, about 20, 25, maybe even 30 feet into the room, one of the stone panels clicks beneath her feet. Just as she's sort of flinching at this and getting ready to leap to the other side of the room with cat-like reflexes, nothing happens. It was simply just it was just a groove, that's all. Groovy baby. Anyway, so Eliza makes it to the end safely, and so we all follow suit. And there are 2 large handles on the door, ready to push it forward. There's no obvious signs of a lock, there's no signs of any hinges or anything like that. This is clearly just a door in a stone, I think it's a stone door that stands before us. So Shoria uses her guidance, and Eliza checks the door for traps. A 14 investigation reveals nothing. It's just a door as far as they can tell. No, I was thinking that I was thinking like maybe we should put a torch to the door, see if it opens up that way. But Shoria, rather than use her hands or risk any of our hands to open the door, she instead uses a mage hand to open the door, and it opens. I think she had to do a check for it. I think it was like a strength check that the hand had to do or something like that, and it manages to open and reveals a warmer passageway that's now filling with light. There is no sound coming from within. There's no reaction. It's just a perfectly fine door, and the passageway seems perfectly fine. So we approach with stealth, and there's fire crackling to the left. There's rubbish strewn about. There's signs of habitation, and the room is well lit, so we don't need dark vision. Now, just as Shoria is going to use Mage Hand to open up a door, we hear a voice. Not so fast! We are now aware of some goblins that have ambushed us. We are completely surrounded by goblinoid beasties. And that is where the session ends. So that's left us on a really good note, and I can't wait to see what happens. I must admit, I wasn't really fond of the idea of starting up a one-shot when I was just getting comfortable with Lost Mine of Phandelver. But this, I mean, I have to say, like, it's a testament to our DM, and as well, and I'm going to be fair as well, because I think I might link this in the chat. Not in the chat, what am I about? Sorry, in the description. I might actually link the description, the drive-through RPG page to the adventure, because so far it has been phenomenal. I haven't read it yet. I will after I've done this adventure, but I will read it to review it, even if it even needs a review, because honestly, like, this is fine. Like these session recaps I've gone in great detail with, and it's been good, and I would like to and I think maybe I will compare notes with like how RDM did it versus how the book how the adventure writes it. But yeah, it was an incredible adventure, and it's a testament to the adventure and our DM that I can't wait to play further. I don't mind having Tresendar Manor on hold, partly as well because I'm also level 3, and so I've had some progression at long last. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what the next what the next installment of this adventure holds. Unfortunately, I'm going to go away on holiday, so I don't really have that much time to prepare. My partner and I are going to be going to Weston-super-Mare in the lovely October weather. So yeah, but we'll have a nice time there, and this video will probably be uploaded after I get back. It depends on how long, because it takes I think about 6 hours to get there and back. So, and I need to get up early tomorrow, so I don't think I'm going to be uploading this video early in the morning. But yes, thank you ever so much for watching. It has been a pleasure to make these videos as always. And yes, I can't wait to see what happens in the next edition of The Sword of the Ember Knight. Thank you for watching, take care, and this is your #1 source for #2 session recaps. #1 source for #2 recaps. This isn't getting any easier, right? So down for now.